I'm so grateful that my big mama pimple left behind 6 of her children, like Charlotte's Web. My God. So this is the video that I said that I would make regarding shame. This one's actually been a long time coming because you guys talk to me all the time in the comments and with questions, and you email me, and even on Instagram I get a lot of messages talking about the subject of shame, going through an eating disorder and also going through recovery. And I didn't realize that it was such a prevalent issue with other eating disorder sufferers and people going through recovery. I guess the reason why it's taken me so long to tackle this video is because I can't say that I have all the answers on this subject, like many subjects to do with recovery. As I always say, I'm not a professional. This is purely just me sharing my own experience because I didn't have that as a resource when I was going through my eating disorder. So as much as I can, I try to give you guys some kind of reference for somebody else who's gone through it. And I suppose the best example I can give you guys is that I never used to talk to anybody about my eating disorder. Even when I was posting all my videos to Tumblr, I really had a sense of anonymity. Nobody in my real life, other than my very close friends and family, knew what I was going through and that I was going through recovery and that I'd even ever had an eating disorder. And eventually I started to see that my eating disorder was not something to be ashamed of, and something that when I did talk about it and started to talk about it, and as this channel grew, I started to realize that our weaknesses, our biggest insecurities, when we open up about them and share them with other people, you are shocked and surprised by how many people you have that in common with. Even if it's not necessarily eating disorders, it might be whatever their coping mechanism is, or something that they've gone through that they feel that they can share because you've been brave enough to share. So as much as I feel the freedom to talk about my eating disorder generally, and talking about my experience and talking about the statistics and talking about how important it is that we have advocacy and that we have awareness, I'm very, very comfortable talking about that stuff. But I actually, in one of my last sessions with my psychologist, I talked to her about the fact that in my close personal relationships, I find it very, very difficult to open up and to share with people the nitty-gritty details of a huge chunk of my life that at some point I have to explain, and explains how I came to be who I am now. And I suppose in that sense, I do still deal hugely with shame, and I do shut down. And that conversation that I had was actually about the last person that I dated really seriously, and it was getting to the point where I needed to share that information and let down those walls and let that guard down, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Fortunately, it wasn't the right person to do it with anyway, because yeah, that ended not under the best or the kindest of circumstances. So that wasn't the person to share it with. But that is something that I still struggle with to this day. I think the only way to get through it, and I'm a work in progress just like you guys are, the only way to get through the shame is just to blindly push through it as best you can, to go against your instinct. The shame is like worrying or stressing. It actually serves no purpose. It actually has no outcome that helps you or protects you. All it does is keep you down and keep you sick and keep you alone. And I can preach it. I need to start practicing it too, because a lot of the stuff that you guys raise about shame is that you are so regretful of what you've missed out on, and that you feel a sense of guilt that you were sort of checked out of life and all the things that you gave up by choosing your eating disorder. You didn't choose your eating disorder. That's not a choice that you made. That is an illness that you had which prevented you from doing the things that you wanted to do. Like I always say about eating disorders, it's just an extension of the lie that the eating disorder tells you so that it can stick around. I always say this illness is a parasite. It cannot survive without you. You can survive without it, and it will manipulate, it will be devious, it will lie, it will do anything to keep itself alive. I can really only advise that in this field, in this subject, because it's something that, like I said, I can sit here and I can tell you guys more than I can tell people in my personal life, because there's less of a fear of judgment and rejection, because you guys have been through what I've gone through, or you're going through what I've been through, and this is a safe space for me. Opening up to people who don't know what it's like to live in that mindset is very confronting for me too. So I get it, I'm right there alongside you. But just like I had to realize that the only way I was going to recover was by confronting the eating disorder and shouting it down and being louder and being bigger, I am still working on doing that every day, confronting that shame that keeps me quiet and keeps me guarded and keeps me closed off in my real life. So I guess that's why I've really put off making this video, because I'm not an example of getting that completely right. I had to start off exposing my struggle to my family and friends, and that was really hard, and then exposing it to people who were not necessarily in my inner circle, and then I was able to talk about it, like I said, generally. But when it comes to really opening up and explaining where that huge chunk of my life went and why I went through that, I really have a hard time with that too. So we're all figuring it out. I'm just going to keep doing what seems to be working, and that is every time I'm scared, just close your eyes and jump in anyway, which is definitely still a work in progress. If there's one thing that helps me that I hope will help you, it is what my psychologist told me in that session that I mentioned about the last person who I was dating very seriously some time ago. And when I said to her, how do I explain that 6 years, how do I explain how I got there, how do I explain the person that it's, you know, turned me into now, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot to expose to somebody, to anybody really, if you're wanting to be truthful and honest with anyone. It doesn't have to be somebody you're romantically involved with. And she just said, if they're the right people, they will not see it as a weakness. They will not see it as something to judge you by. They will see it as a strength. They will see it as something to admire and see it as a positive. And so I try to remember that. Even as I'm still trying at this stuff, I'm still, yeah, in that same boat with you guys in a lot of ways. I mean, the 3 years that I've spent in recovery, I feel like I'm 99.9% of the way there, but there's still a couple of things where I'm just figuring it out, just like you guys are. So if you have any advice for me, please shout out in the comments below. Speaking of the 3 years, I just want to do a bit of a thank you. The comments on that video, the comments on Instagram, the messages, the emails that I've had, the like count compared to the view count on that video are just phenomenal and lovely, and thank you for all of your wonderful encouraging words. I love this channel. I can't believe that I stayed away from it for so long. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, remember to hit subscribe. I'll be back this weekend with another video. Don't know what it's going to be yet. It's going to be just as much of a surprise to me as it will be to you. Yeah, I'll see you this weekend. Much love. Take care. Bye, guys.